Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first Lunch and Learn session of the Versus Virus incubation program. My name is Biliana, and I'll be coordinating for you the Lunch and Learn. Today, before I go into today, let me tell you briefly what are the objectives of the Lunch and Learn. What we want to do with those sessions is to provide for you the opportunity to upscale your knowledge as well as skills. We want you to be able to do the things that you want to achieve in order to reach what you define as success. And to do that, we will be providing those lunch and learn sessions every Friday for 1 hour. We have the first two sessions set up for you. Today's session is on how to collaborate online. And the session next Friday is all about how to do user testing. Then from then on, we would expect you to tell us what you want to learn and what do you need to learn. And we will get those experts in front of the camera so they can explain you exactly what to do and how to do it. So those sessions will not be possible without your active participation, telling us what do you need and nudging us to do it for you. On that note, the second big objective of the Lunch and Learn is to create a virtual library. We really want to start recording those sessions as we're doing now, and to make sure that anytime you need to check something, you can get into that video and check how particular things were done. So on that note, let me introduce you our first speaker today. Our first speaker today is Oleg Lavrovsky. Hi, Oleg, welcome, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this session, even though you have a deadline with the app that you're developing, and hopefully it will be going out on Monday. So Oleg, please unmute yourself and take it on from here. And I'll be monitoring the chat box for you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the intro, Biljana. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're enjoying the introductions this morning. So my name is Oleg. I'm one of the organizers of Versus Virus and also one of the directors of opendata.ch. My background is from software engineering side. I'm specializing in collaboration systems and databases. But I really want to talk to you about how do you get your project going? How do you choose some great tools to build up a toolbox of things that you can use within your team, within your project, and share with you maybe some of the tricks and ideas that have been coming out of the hackathons and other activities going on around Versus Virus. So I'm going to try to share my screen and quickly, I think we've got about 10, 20 minutes to do a quick introduction, and then I would love to open up the floor and hear what you're using already, see if you have any questions. So let me see if this is going to work. Can you see my screen? Can you see some people doing high fives?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. So what you're looking at here is something called Slack. Now, everyone who's been already part of the Versus Virus hackathon, anyone who's talked to our team would probably have heard of Slack already. It's a very popular tool to basically do chat and other communications. It's one of many platforms out there. And we chose to use it for Versus Virus because we were really comfortable with it already. We were already working with it at the Impact Hub at opendata.ch. And what it allows you to do is basically to invite people to a channel, just like you have a WhatsApp group or a Facebook page or something else. You have just a place where you can invite people, and then everybody you invite is listed in a team directory, right? So here we have the 4,984 people with their wonderful profiles who have been part of the Versus Virus hackathon. And at any point in time, I can search for Biljana, and if I can spell her name right, sorry, Biljana, then I can find the person in the address book. And this, of course, in a small team, this isn't a big problem, but it is important to have just one place where everybody can comes together. You know, in life as usual before coronavirus, this was, you know, an office, a coffee shop, a university library. But now we really rely on having virtual spaces to meet and interact and chat. So if now that I found Biljana, I can start a direct message with her, or even give her a call through the Slack platform. The thing we use quite a lot on Slack are something called channels. And I actually started a channel for our discussion today. So if anybody is already on the Versus Virus Slack, just search for the Fridays collaboration channel and join it. And we're going to post any links that I'm sharing today with you here, as well as invite you to share your own ideas and trips. So basically in a chat channel, I can say, hello world, and discuss any questions that come up, and maybe even set some ground rules, like make sure that we all meet here at 9 o'clock every morning. So you can, just like you can set up a meeting using the Zoom for video conference, you can also, of course, agree to do a chat conference on a platform like Slack. What's really nice in Slack, I see Thierry is joining from Fribourg. Welcome, Thierry. I can also do these reminders, which are really quite handy. So I can remind Thierry from Fribourg to post a cool photo tomorrow morning. And if I just type that in, it will actually remind Thierry to do that. I can also remind myself, or I can remind the whole channel with these kind of features. So Slack is a fantastic tool. There's lots to learn here. We don't expect you to use it necessarily, but it is there for you. If you would like to join the Slack, just let us know if you have any problems, and we'll help you get on board. I want to talk to you also today about some of the other tools that are really used for collaboration. There's really a whole toolbox out there. If you look at the last few months, there's just even been a greater explosion. Over the last few years, a lot of our work has been going online. And I'm just sharing this website called ethical.net, where you can find alternatives and resources for some of the main tools that are useful in your work online. Things like online office suites, from LibreOffice to Google Office to Zoho. There's a lot of places, you probably know them, things like Microsoft Teams. And on this webpage, you will find what they call ethical alternatives. I mean, that just means that they follow the manifesto of what an ethical tool is. I encourage you to read that. Again, this is a suggestion coming from me, but I want you to basically know that there are alternatives, not just between different vendors like Google, Microsoft, Apple, but also even in the more wider sense, there are a lot of open source projects and things you may not have heard about it. And in here, you will find a section called Team Collaboration, within which there are some of the most popular and developed projects, which have been actually quite a few of these have been used at the Versus Virus Hackathon. Things for doing online meetings, having a discussion platform, doing calls and messaging. And for example, Mattermost here is probably the most popular open source alternative to the Slack that we're using. But you'll find a lot of other things useful, maybe a file sharing tool if you want to upload some sketches. Besides ethical.net, when you're looking for tools, I would really suggest this website from Hyper Island. The Hyper Island toolbox is a curated list of not just software tools, but tools that really support innovation and team development projects. And you can literally just use this wizard here to pick innovation category, decide how much time you have. So let's say 30 minutes. Decide how large of a group you have. And this is going to give you a little bit of like a roadmap for what kind of activities you might want to be doing in this time. And once you've decided on these activities, you can have in this toolbox actual processes that you can apply, like stinky fish, for example, if that's something like an activity you want to do. And the reason I want to suggest this is because I really would try to avoid getting stuck in what I call software-itis, where a lot of your decisions and thoughts and preparation as you try to get into a project revolve around learning a platform and struggling with details of, what kind of widget do you want inside of Slack, or how do you exactly want to share your files. All those things are just means to an end. And the most important thing in collaboration is to keep that end in sight. Right now, you're going to be building up your team or whatever stage you're in. The tools and the processes you should really be focusing on are around achieving your objectives as a project, which is why I really recommend, again, toolboxes like this one, which help you to align around organizational processes, collaborational skills, and tasks that you might want to accomplish. Once you have a task like, let's start an online collaboration, there are some guidelines here. But I mean, at this point already, it's so much easier to go back to a list like this and to just pick out the things you need and quickly jump in and start using them without spending too much time working out IT issues. And of course, I know that a lot of you have already the, probably background in technology or related fields, or you have experience from work, from school. Working with what you're comfortable is of course the best thing to do in most cases. If you already have proficiency with the Google or Apple suite of tools, just whip them out and put them to use. The one thing that I would really urge you to consider, though, is make sure that everyone is on board. Very simply, if there is a barrier to entry, for example, a cost needs to be paid. Typically you might have an account to a software suite from your university, and not everybody in your team might have the same kind of access, at least not to the same kind of software. So if you're limited by that, that can quickly create barriers, completely unnecessary barriers, where somebody has a tool, somebody doesn't have the tool. And so either you're bottlenecked, you're relying on one person or one or two people to solve a particular kind of problem within those tools, and then it means that everybody else can't take over their work or can't really directly contribute their inputs, or you're just reduced in your effectiveness on the whole. So again, this is why I think it's important to have some alternatives available to get over these kind of barriers as quickly as possible. But it's always the trade-off, right? So the more you deviate from what you know, the more your learning curve is potentially for everybody. And in many teams, you might decide, hey, these people, their job is do the design. So they're going to use whatever design tools they're comfortable with, let's say Adobe Suite. And the rest of the team doesn't have those design tools, but we'll find a way to effectively communicate our needs and make sure that we get around these bottlenecks as effectively as possible. Which brings me to the next point, which is, I think that it's really probably the most critical tool that you're going to have is project management, right? Every project needs project management, even the smallest project. I mean, I have 2 small children. Let me tell you, you need to project manage them cleaning their rooms or helping to set the dinner table. I mean, there's no limits to where it can be helpful. Even the smallest kind of things you can learn about project management can really get you help across. What I'm showing you on my screen now is a tool called Trello. Again, one of many, many, many alternatives to the same basic idea, which is to use cards to explain tasks. I think this is probably, once you've gotten your team together, my suggestion would be to set something like this up as quickly as possible. The reason this is important, and this is, by the way, these cards are sometimes referred to as Kanban cards, Kanban. That's from a famous management methodology originally developed in Japan, which really helped to streamline production processes in factories. And the whole idea was to write down the entire task that you had for a particular issue that you had to solve on one single, 16 by 9 centimeter piece of card, a paper like this. If you couldn't describe the problem completely on that card, you had to use a different card. Right. So, and if the work task was not completely explained on that card, then it was not good. So tools like Trello promote this by creating this kind of environment where you can drag and drop cards around columns. You know, you can, in this case, I have something like ideas, current working on, and done column. There's a lot of different ways to set this up. This is just from one of the projects I'm supporting. Another place where you can see the same thing is in GitHub. If you're working on a project that is kind of technical nature, involves programming, involves code, you'll probably be hearing about GitHub pretty soon. Even if you don't know anything about GitHub, the one thing I'd like you to take away is that it organizes projects, and within those projects, it lets you explain things in forms of issues and projects. So here, right in the middle of my screen, when I click on projects and click on this first project, I can see a trip for this project. I see the Kanban board, and again, I can drag and drop things around columns, add additional cards. I can just start typing here to explain another task. And once I have these cards, either in Trello or in place like GitHub, what's really useful is, of course, assigning the tasks to members of your team, keeping track through the comments and deadlines of your progress on these tasks and that kind of thing. But I'm not going to get into a lot of detail today. Just let you know that these tools exist. They're super powerful, and I think it's pretty fundamental to just be able to organize your work and keep track of your objectives using something like this. An additional toolbox I wanted to quickly share to you, because I shared you a couple of ones from outside of Switzerland. I wanted just to show you this additional one called Zu Hause Arbeiten Community. This is a community platform that was created by a small company right here in Bern, Switzerland. Actually, in response to the COVID crisis, they came up with recommendations for home office, distance learnings, and community building, and so on. And here also, if you click on the tools, you will see people actually suggesting all kinds of creative tools, for example, for working on interactions and so on. So again, I just want to highlight the fact that there's some really great resources, both in Switzerland and outside of Switzerland, where you can jump on and do some research after this call and put together your toolbox. And I think the thing to do is to, like if you think about a craftsperson, someone working on a construction site, they're going to be carrying this, this box around, and in it will be everything they need to do to get a job done, not more, not less. In the digital space, the ideal situation is exactly the same thing. You have your tools, you know how to use them, and you can really focus on the task at hand. So I think the thing that I also wanted to share with you is the fact that we've run a couple of other hackathons besides Versus Virus, and in one particular hackathon I've been in, there have been a couple of discussions around what kind of tools are really good in an early stage of the process. I wanted to share those a little bit with you, figuring that I want to give you some takeaways that would be useful right away. And so this is kind of in the category of brainstorming tools. And one of the things that I've been using for the longest time is something called Balsamiq. Some of you might have heard about this. Life's too short for bad software. This is a popular tool used in sort of agile software development circles. It's really a way to come up with UI design. So if anyone here is going to be working on an app or a website, something like this helps you to sketch out the wireframe. And the wireframe is just like a really basic shape of what you're trying to do. It's not the actual product, but it's going to be sketchy. It's going to be in pencil form. And so Balsamiq, there's a free trial you can use, and quite a few people are fans of that. A newer one that very few people have heard about, but I hear Bilian is a fan of, is called Jamboard. This is a Google product available at jamboard.google.com. You can sign in with a Google account and start something called a jam. And it's very much like Balsamiq, except it even more focuses on kind of like using Post-it notes and discussing your ideas and kind of putting up a mind map almost, just really visually aligning your different ideas in some directions. So you can very easily create sticky notes, attach them to a board, drag them around, create multiple pages for different steps in your design, or your flow chart, or your process, or whatever you're thinking about. And what's of course really nice is that you can just quickly share this with the people in your team, copy that link and paste it in your channel, whatever is easiest for you to get other people involved in creating this jam. In a few of the teams at Versus Virus, I've noticed there was this Myra tool that was used. This is a really new one. It's only been available for a few months, as far as I know, and it looks like this. So this is an actual board, and it's a lot like Jamboard and the other ones, except it has like it really tries to focus on being zoomable. So the idea is you have this kind of big 10,000 feet view of your project, and then you kind of zoom in and you kind of see, okay, here's where we did our brainstorming, where you zoom back out, and here's where our current to-dos are, or here's actually some research, and you can just paste in web pages, photos, spreadsheets. What's quite powerful with this product is that you can, if you're working on a Google Doc or some other place that you're collaborating on something like a deliverable for your project, you can paste it in here, and you can almost just with one click, you can just update it and pull the latest version of that spreadsheet or whatever it is into your Myra board to keep everybody kind of on the same virtual page. So Myra is definitely one that's gotten quite a bit of acclaim in these recent hackathons. But all three of these projects I just showed you are not open source. They are proprietary products, and in the spirit of ethical alternatives, I thought, if I would love to hear any other suggestions from you of what you've been using. Personally, I use a lot of for almost every project I work with, I use something called Inkscape, which is actually just a free alternative to Adobe Illustrator or Sketch. So it's just a design tool. But you can do a lot of the things that I was just showing you just by creating a canvas and putting things onto it. The nice thing about Inkscape is it exports in open formats. So practically, every other tool on the market can open up those designs and edit them if it's an SVG or PDF format. So again, this is just kind of one thing that's really clearly in my toolbox. Okay, so this was my quick intro. I would really love to open up the discussion, see if there's any questions, and hear what you think. I will be also checking the Slack channel. If you want, you can feel free to use the Zoom chat or the Slack channel chat to post a question.
Thank you very much, Oleg. Well, we are waiting for the first question to come. Roxana is asking, will this presentation be shared? Yes, you will be fine. You will be able to find it on a Slack channel called Lunch and Learn Library.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Isis from Geneva. Also, one thing I like to use, especially when there is a big group or we work remotely, like for example, we're gonna do, you wanna start my video? Okay, we can do that. Okay. I'm here. So yeah, hi everybody. I start again. So what I was gonna say is one thing I use if I do let's say a Zoom meeting that lasts a long time. For example, this one when we're gonna be on Fridays, first give some kind of feedback and then have the learning lunch and then work together. Then what I do is I use one room that you can go to and just to chat or go as if you're walking into a coffee room. And you also have tools that allow you to do that for work, and you can simulate your office space, and then you can have your little head floating around, and then you can see where you are. So let's say you see a little head floating around the coffee space, then you can go there and meet someone. I thought that could be an interesting thing to look into I saw there was going to be speed dating to network and stuff, but yeah, so Coco, thank you, Thierry. I see that you also know what that is, and so yeah, just my feedback. Maybe Thierry, you wanna add something to that?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Thierry, we can hear
Yes,
you.
it's good. Okay, okay. Just want to, yeah, it's just a tool we use. It's called sokoko.com, and it's exactly what you're asking. It's something you have a top view, and you have different room. You can assign the room to somebody, for example, and you can close the door. And when the door is closed, somebody who wants to go in has to knock the door, and then you have to accept to go in, to come in. And then when you are in the same room, you can hear everything, and you can talk if you want, and everybody can hear you. So it's more or less what you are looking for, but it's very simple thing, simple tool, and without I I want to say integration, big integration or a lot of integration. It's integrated with Slack only, and maybe they will improve that in the next version. But for the moment, it's that, and it's you have to pay I don't know, something like $8 per month per user, something like that. Just check the website. That's it.
Thanks very much, Thierry. I think also, you know, Sokoko is a great example of a tool that tries to ease the learning curve by replicating some, you know, behaviors that we're used to in the physical world, things like knocking on doors. You know, this really might be something you'd want to try and put into your tool suite. There's a lot to be said about that. You know, try to accommodate to your team's abilities and try to make everybody feel comfortable. You know, on Slack you can have multiple channels. I think that will be a bit similar to having multiple rooms, you can set guidelines around, you know, when should you go in or out of a channel. Just, you know, the more rules you have, the more friction you have in your team. That's the one thing I would say on that topic. So try to keep your collaboration open. Don't use private channels. Try to stay away from sharing too much in direct messages, just for the simple reason that people are not going to be able to share to search through that content. And if it is valuable knowledge that might be useful in a later stage of the project, it's a real shame for it to be locked in and away from the view of the people that need it. We have some additional questions coming in through chat. And I wanted to take up a question by Gigi Trents, who asks, do you have any process modeling alternative to Visio? So Microsoft Visio is a very well-known tool that is used in, you know, flowcharts, blueprints, all kinds of diagrams of that kind. And process modeling is obviously quite fundamental importance to anything that you want to design that involves multiple steps, checkpoints, people, that kind of thing. There's definitely alternatives to Visio. Visio is still, I would say, after how many decades I can't even count, but it still remains an extremely popular and a very good tool. But obviously, not everybody has a license or wants to install software online. So the tool that I would recommend, if you're going to use a cloud-based platform, maybe I'll just share my screen again. Here we go. Just a couple of tools for process modeling that I would suggest is as Lucidchart. So this is not free. It is proprietary, but it is completely cloud-based. So you can log on to get an account and use these kind of interface online to do process management and other kinds of diagrams. An open source equivalent to Visio is called Calligra. And it looks like this. It has various. It's actually a whole tool suite of various planning and other tools. And there's another one called Dia. So I would personally just use Inkscape. But if you really want something that's a lot like Visio with, you know, boxes and other things you can just drag into your screen and make diagrams like this, then Dia seems to be a popular choice. One last one from what people are really using at hackathons is diagrams.net, formerly known as draw.io. And here you have entity relations, flowcharts, and all kinds of other things you can just drag on and start using here. And then you can connect them with these lines, which is quite handy. If I can remember how to use it, la-da. So there you go. I just made a really ugly process, but you guys get the idea. So definitely this is definitely also a really useful tool, not just for the engineering minded. Anyone who wants to try to explain a logical construct around their project should try a tool like this. And we have another question from Elisabetta Maria Messina, who asks, what about Zoom? Ha ha. Well, ha ha, Elisabetta, what do you think about Zoom? Obviously, Zoom is a product that's going to be quite essential for us to be able to meet, communicate. We need to have some kind of online conferencing ability in this lockdown, and we are using Zoom right now because it was provided to us by our friends Glue.net, who are hosting this seminar. Zoom meetings are limited to, if I'm not mistaken, 40 minutes, after which you have to have a paid plan to continue the meeting. So that's their business model. It's probably a good business model. I can't talk for that, but if you want to avoid that limitation, in the I've mentioned in the ethical alternatives, you will find some communication services. I'll just point out just a couple of very typical alternatives. So one is Google Hangouts. A lot of us have Google accounts, and Hangouts are a very popular way to talk with each other. The issue with Google is, of course, either you have a paid account through your organization, or you're using a free account, which is going to limit the number of people you can invite. And of course, it's being Google. Well, we're paying with our data, so that might not be the most ethical choice for everybody. There's a really great alternative that quite a few people at hackathons have been using called Jitsi. This is an open source project which enables completely free video conferencing. So if I go at meet.jit.si, I can start a new meeting literally by just putting some words into this text box. When I hit the go button, you see this link becomes Meet Jitsi, putting some words into this text box. This becomes the link that I can share with people, and immediately I am in a conference call and people can jump in with their browser. There's also a mobile app which works better on smartphones and tablets. And this is a completely free kind of community supported service. It does sometimes have performance issues. So there are some alternative servers you can use. There are some in Switzerland, and I'll post details of those in channels. And maybe just one more. Again, we had some participants at Versus Virus use this service called Whereby, which is quite popular. And it's a little bit like what Thierry mentioned before. It works kind of a little bit around towards your comfort zone with this really nice layout of people, and you can create multiple rooms for your team to go in and out of. But it is a paid product, so check the pricing and see if that's affordable for your team. Okay, just checking to see if there's any other questions.
No, not. We'll have to create the Lunch and Learn library, which we haven't created yet, but we will do. Yeah. I know that you're short on time, Oleg, so I want to invite everybody, if you have another question for Oleg, please, he has 10 minutes and then he'll have to run. So please go ahead and ask your question.
If you don't have a question for me, I'll have a question for you. Let's see, got a couple of people who have been possibly already members, but my question would be, maybe we just use the chat quickly if you guys don't want to turn on your video. I would just like to know when you're thinking ahead to collaboration, when you're thinking about the topic of having to work with your team virtually, just put in a number from 0 to 9. 9 being, I'm super confident. I've got my toolbox ready. My team's got tools. We're going to go into this, hitting the pedal to the metal. It's going to be great. So if you're really confident, please put a 9 into the chat if you're super confident. Put a 0 into the chat if you absolutely desperately need help right now. If you need direct support from us to get yourself up and going because you're really struggling with this. And anywhere in between, if it's somewhere in between.
So we have some 9s, some 8s, some 7s, some 3s. I can see a 4.
So I'm going to pick on the guys who have expressed extreme confidence. Would either Andre or Gigi Trents, who are expressed full confidence, do you want to just flip on your microphone and just say in a couple of words what makes you feel confident? What do you think is your most powerful tool, maybe?
Sure, I'm Gaia. By the way, Trans. Hi, I'm sorry I didn't change my name.
No worries.
I'm confident because the team is all using Teams. We moved to Teams. So we find everybody has access, and the communication, the files, we can store files. We can use the chat box. It's good for videos. I think sometimes it's not the tool, but the way that you organize the tool, actually, most of the time, or the way you organize the work within your team, and then you apply it to the tool that you selected.
Fantastic. So you've got your toolbox right there. It's just one product which does it all for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. I love the confidence. Thank you, Gigi.
Hi, and it's Andre here. So yeah. I discovered Slack on the hackathon, and ever since using it, it's it was a little bit of struggle getting into the application, but having used it, it's brilliant. I can swear by it. It's such a lovely way of communicating with the chat, and everything is contained within the individual chat sessions and within the channels. So you have a channel for each area that you're wanting to focus on. And it's really great. You have your broadcast session, so you can communicate with everyone in the A to Z, we've named it A to Z broadcast channel. Uploading files is a real breeze. Jumping into Zoom meetings is also just /Zoom, and you're in a Zoom session. So there's a lot of really cool functionality in Slack. Highly recommend for anybody who wants to collaborate well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Andre. May I pass the message on? And let Slack Communications know that you're so happy with them, and you just
sure, by all means. I think it's a brilliant tool.
It is a very good tool. It's got its flaws like anything else, but it is true that Slack provided it for free for us for use at the hackathon, and we would have not managed to get this project started without it. So I completely support your sentiments, and we'll pass it on to the company. Thank you.
Sure.
Now let's go to the other side of the tables. We've got a couple of 3s in there. So Claudia, Costa, or Naren, do you mind telling us in just 1 or 2 words what's making you jittery? What's it about collaboration that makes you feel not so confident to get started? What's your main roadblock?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Oleg. Well, I'm not too familiar with all these tools, and I'm just started. I had the idea, and I worked. I'm not a digital person, so some of my team are very advanced. But since I'm on the business and administrative part, I'm still trying to get along with all the available tools. And it was so important what you've said. And I'm really a fan of open sources. So I think I go for it because I believe in that strategy to work. We're talking about collaboration, and open source is everything. It's really collaboration. So I want to use those tools, and was very helpful. All your inputs. I really appreciate, and I'm sure I'm gonna get as we walk. I'm sure we're gonna have more questions, but it was a very good start. I really appreciate. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome, Claudia.
Hello.
Hello, Naren.
Hello. Yes, it's my work, it's a lab tech, so I always moving around the department between different teams. So it is quite rare that I use these technical things. So it was really important for me to look at what is going on in the technical things. It's new for me. That's why I found myself really not the person who can manage a project from home. Yeah, and I was participating in hackathon, and it was
Oops, were you cut out there, Naren? Naren? I think you muted yourself by accident. Oh, looks like she dropped altogether. Could be the internet, which is actually a great reminder that probably the most fundamental resource that we have for collaboration right now is the internet. So, this is something that we told each other at the beginning of the hackathon. For this weekend, we need to make sure we have great bandwidth, stable connection, backups. But obviously, if you're struggling to stay online, all the tools in the world don't really matter, right? So one of the nice things about being in one of the few nice things about being in the COVID crisis is that people have a strong sentiment of mutual solidarity and support. So talk to your neighbor. If your Wi-Fi isn't strong enough, if your internet isn't good enough, try to organize yourself with your nearby people, both to get better internet, but also just to get practical support and help. I think a lot of people will react very favorably to the idea of you working within the Versus Virus Incubator. Look inside, but also outside for support. Tell people what you're doing. Talk about your project and ask for help. This can't be said most strongly enough. And also, Claudia, you mentioned having a couple of people in your team who are more experienced, who are digital natives. Give them that ability to lead the way, and also take some responsibilities for coaching and supporting each other within your teams. Is also going to be just probably your most powerful secret weapon if you manage to really leverage each other.
I know that you're short on time, Oleg. There's one quick question. Elizabeth asks for alternatives to GitHub.
Something more like Google Colab, bring together designers, developers.
Yeah.
A collaborative Bootstrap studio. Wow. Well, some days I really wish something like this existed. I think that it's like if you go to a shopping mall. You've got everything under one roof. And I'm Canadian, by the way, so I'm quite used to the idea of shopping malls. And you got your hairdresser and your food delivery and your restaurants, and it's literally all in one same place. Shopping malls are great for some people, and there are other people that absolutely hate the idea, and they will be happy to walk a kilometer one direction and a kilometer in the other direction to get to that boutique coffee shop of their choice. So, Elizabeth, if you're looking for a one-stop shop, there are definitely places that you will find that. So, by the way, Google Colab is actually a product for data science, not for collaboration in that sense. But having the complete Google suite of products with everyone having an account and everyone logging on to Google Drive and using Google Hangouts and so on does reduce the friction, does make it kind of a full service project. Earlier, we heard from Gigi about her use of Microsoft Teams. And that's a little bit the same thing. What I was hearing from her description is that it was just one place, her whole team is there, and they have all the file sharing and document editing and brainstorming and all the kind of things available within that kind of framework. That can be empowering. That can be also extremely limiting. It's all about finding a good balance. And whether it's web development or any other part of your project, focus on your objectives. Try to get to that finish line. Don't get stuck up on what tools you're using, whatnot. You might end up picking the wrong tool. You might end up using something that's not open source enough or not usable enough. But you will overcome those limitations if you really persist, and you will get through to the finish line with a result. And you will have learned something that in the next project, in the next collaboration, you will learn to avoid. There's nothing can replace your experience in these matters. So I urge you to not give up, keep at it, and use each other, use us, and use the community around you to succeed in your work. I wish you and all your teams here an amazing success and best of luck in continuing with our incubation program. Thank you so much for being on board, and looking forward to any other of your questions via Slack or all the other channels we have.
Thank you very much, Oleg. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the tools you've shared with us. Thank you for pinning down the idea on collaboration and ethics. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have time for a group photo? No, he doesn't. So everybody, now we have another 13 minutes, if you wish, to unmute yourself. And I propose we go forward use the next 13 minutes in the following way. So you either share a very practical tool or tip that you have and that you love, so that we can exchange our best tips, or you ask for a concrete thing somebody can help you with or can give you advice, because we have a community of 26 people, and I'm sure there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom in this community too. So if you want to share a tip or ask a very concrete question, please unmute yourself and speak. Hello. I can't hear you. There you go. Please go ahead. Tell us your name.
Me? Yes, my name is Naren. I am originally from Iraq. I am a pharmacist, but when I came to Switzerland, I work as a lab technician part-time, and I study in ETH, pharmaceutical science, and but my problem, the digital things, because it's when you work in the lab, you don't need all these things. It's only you manage the place and I was surprised when I participate in the hackathon. There is so many things. For me, it was only I'm using Microsoft and Excel and Word, which is very something routine. And I just want to know more. It's something amazing what is exists around the world. Beautiful. And yes, and I can say I'm good in communication. Team player, yes, but not managing a project alone. No, part of the project.
Do you have a team already?
No, I was. Now I don't have a job.
Please join the session. No. Do you have a team you're going to work with?
No.
Please join the session at 1:30, maybe, or in the session in the afternoon. There you'll be able to interact with other people and find a team you can work with.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Noreen. Do you have a very concrete question? Or okay.
I mean, I want to learn about the digital things, if it is possible.
Digital things. Okay. So who wants to give Naren a digital tip?
Hello, this is Jorge.
Hello, Jorge.
Yeah, really, there's so many tools out there. But the main important thing is to keep it simple. Get 1 or 2 tools, Slack preferably. One, because a lot of people use it. So if you have a new member, most likely they have used Slack. So there's that education is kind of out of the way, because you don't want to waste your time learning the tool, and just jump with it and work with that tool. And then maybe get the second tool, which would be obviously the Zoom or anything, maybe preferably open source for obviously communicating. And that's it at that point. And just work with those tools. Max maybe 3. I think if you get into the 4 and 5 and everyone's jumping around with different tools, it's going to be a little bit more frustrating and you're going to lose a lot of time. So just keep it simple.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Jorge.
I can add to that. Go with a tool that you're going to use today or tomorrow, but to try and, learn 5-10 tools on the market because they all seem cool, unless you end up actually using them, you're going to just forget them. It's, if you think of Excel, if you do an Excel course and they teach you 20 things about great with Excel, unless you actually use those things, in 1 month's time, you will have forgotten them all. And it's the same like with these digital tools. I would also endorse what our colleague said earlier. If you're going to be in this environment, get to know Slack. It's kind of like the basis tool. And if you've got a good handle on Slack, you can already bring value to that community by helping others use it better.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Who else wants to share a favorite tool or a tip or a concrete question? And while we are thinking, I would invite you to really look at who you are as a learner, because we have definitely different preferences in learning. For example, I prefer much more to learn audially and visually, which means I'm also looking for tools that help me work audially and visually. My favorite digital tool is WhatsApp. I do everything on WhatsApp, and it's just because I can speak into it. I know myself. If I need to sit and write, it's more difficult. But if I just have to press the button and talk and share with anybody what I think, there you go, I've done it. And the point is to get it done. Get it done. So go with what suits you as a particular type of person, as a particular type of learner, and what comes easiest. Anybody else out there? If not, I'll go ahead and share my second favorite digital tool. My second favorite digital tool is Canva. And I love Canva. Canva is a tool for, you can prepare any type of posters or logos or presentations. And I love Canva because it gives me beautiful colors and because it has already structure in it. If I need to prepare a PowerPoint presentation, it has the structure in it. And being a very messy person, I have difficulty sometimes with structures. So I use Canva because I know there's a structure that works that I can start with and then change as I like. So Canva and WhatsApp are my favorite tools. Yes, Gigi Trends. Canva is amazing. Yes, you can use Canva online. You can use Canva to create a website, to prototype a website. Canva is amazing. You can use Canva to create a image that repeats itself. I forgot the technical name. You can present straight out of Canva. You don't have to download, although it's not very professional. But Canva is my go-to tool if I need to design anything. Okay, there is a question. Would you like to unmute yourself? Xin Yu, Fang, and just.
Hi. Hi. Sorry, I think this question is not related to the online tool. So, but I don't know if I can ask here in this section because it was mentioned earlier that maybe this is project related. So I thought maybe I can ask here. So it's about like what kind of project we can participate will be in this incubation, because we actually have a project that is we formed a team during the EU virus hackathon. But this project will need like we are biology engineer and one machine learning backgrounds tech, but this project is a testing device, so it's not really so IT and app related. So I don't know, because it seems to me like maybe here this project now here is more app and or IT related project. So I don't know if we will be able to participate this, and also because the resource might be difference we need.
Thank you very much for asking this question. In my understanding, you're free to work on any project you want to work with, as long as you have the 3 objectives you want to achieve, and you're willing to show up on a weekly basis to report your progress and share with the team you're working with. So even though it may seem that this is an IT and app incubator, IT and app are just particular ways through which people are bringing their solutions to the world. And it doesn't have to be. It can be a testing device, just like what you are trying to do. So please, I can reassure you that this is the right place. And you can always give it a try and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, you can choose not to continue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. We have 2 more minutes. Are there any more questions? Otherwise, can I invite you all to switch on your cameras so that we can take a group photo? It's so beautiful to see faces. It's so nice. Okay, is everybody here? Do you think everybody's here? Let me just move this away from here. Okay, so hi everybody, let's take a photo. One more. Okay. Oh, ooh, look at this one. Amazing. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. So just to recap, if you decide to commit to the hackathon, you will be invited to join our next Lunch and Learn, which is going to be next week on Friday, same time. And we will have 2 experts who will explain to you how to do user testing, because meeting the needs of our users is the best we can do. And otherwise, we expect you to tell us what you need to learn so that we can bring you the experts who can teach you. We want to be able to upscale, to bring up your skills and make things easy for you. Because innovation is a messy process. And if we take it step by step and make the big and messy into small and inspiring, we'll get where we want to be. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for joining. We will be creating the Lunch Learn library channel where you can find this video, and we will post the tools into the collaboration channel. Thank you very much once again, and have a lovely lunch if you haven't had one yet. Bye.
Thank you, Liliana.
Bye. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
See you next week.
See you next week. Yes.
Bye.